If someone is not going to buy Bitcoin till they understand it, they may end up missing one of the biggest opportunities in their lifetime. Bitcoin has now been around for 15 years, and there has not been a Bitcoin 2.0. So there's no crypto 2.0. This is Bitcoin is the surviving chain. And Bitcoin has become a $2 trillion asset, which never in history, financial history, has anything reached $2 trillion and then disappeared. It's a different argument if it was $100 billion. Third is the US government is reiterated its commitment to make Bitcoin a strategic reserve asset. That's not bad for the price of Bitcoin.
"2025 is here, and Bitcoin is poised to see a monumental surge, historically tracking the price in the year following the Bitcoin halving and on the heels of multiple all-time highs." Financial analyst and Bitcoin bull Tom Lee discusses his prediction for all Bitcoin investors and why he believes $400 trillion is about to pour into Bitcoin. The price for BTC currently sits just under $95,000, still up over 100% in the past year. Lee believes Bitcoin is about to make history, as we witness one of the biggest price rises so far since the creation of the dominant cryptocurrency. The story will become even bigger in 2025 because of the Bitcoin ETFs, with thousands of institutional investors across the United States now buying Bitcoin. The demand for the leading digital asset has increased exponentially. This has caused a never-before-seen supply-demand imbalance for Bitcoin. And Tom Lee says, everything is about to change.
I can tell you, people had many arguments against it for years. People said, oh, it's a Ponzi scheme. It only goes up because of the creation of stablecoins. Or people said that Bitcoin is going to go to zero one day. Or they're going to say that, well, why doesn't someone create a new Bitcoin? You know, I would say that it's the same attitude people had for stocks since 2009. At JP Morgan, we had made the argument in 2009, and this really helped us become very well known among the institutional world, was that we had said in February of 2009 that a new bull market was starting, but one that we think could be quite significant, you know, that could last for decades. And we had shown that the bear market that was taking place was actually in severity almost as bad as the Great Depression. Many investors were skeptical for years. If you recall, from 2009 to even 2014, people said that was just a fake bull market due to the Fed, and they thought we'd eventually go back to 600 on the S&P. Well, by 2015, many people lost their jobs because they fought a bull market that had almost tripled in price. I think that's what's happening now in crypto, because as much as people saying it's not a legitimate asset class, the fact that the US government's about to buy it really changes the discussion. So if someone is watching this and said, well, they don't understand Bitcoin, so they decide not to own it, it's a catastrophic way to look at markets, because we recommended Bitcoin originally when it was around 1,000, and we recommended investors put 2%, and many people said they won't buy it until they understand it, and then we'd spend 2 years explaining to our clients why they should own some Bitcoin, and they still refuse to buy it. So I don't think, if someone is not going to buy Bitcoin till they understand it, they may end up missing one of the biggest opportunities in their lifetime.
The price is following closely the prior halving cycles, and I think that has supported why we expected Bitcoin to be 100,000. And over the next 12 months, I think something over 250,000 is possible, but maybe highly probable based on just following this price cycle. The second reason I think Bitcoin has maybe more upside than that is because the new administration has run on a pro-Bitcoin platform. And I think that the possibility of the US not only legitimizing Bitcoin, but making it a strategic reserve asset, I think raises what would be the possible price scenarios for Bitcoin. Because if the US government, as they intend, ultimately gets to 1 million Bitcoin, they'll be the largest holder of Bitcoin in the world. And they'd exert enormous positive influence on legitimizing Bitcoin. And maybe I would just add to that, it's almost like taking a playbook from MicroStrategy, because MicroStrategy has proven that using Bitcoin as a balance sheet asset has really created a lot of value for MicroStrategy shareholders. You know, Bitcoin 1 year from now, I think is something around 250,000.
Embracing an unyielding enthusiasm for the Bitcoin realm, Lee confidently predicts that explosive growth is looming on the horizon, as BlackRock and many other crypto giants are doing just that. Tom Lee reassures that a long-expected surge awaits as 2025 begins.
Let's talk about 2025. I mean, what's your view on the market? If you could, what are some of the assumptions you have in your forecast?
The S&P right now is around 6,000. And we think it's going to go to 7,000 by the middle of next year.
Okay, so by the middle of next year.
Yeah. And at the moment, it could change. But at the moment, we think the first half will be better than the second half.
So stronger first half and...
Yeah. And so the market could run out of steam in the second half.
Okay.
So consolidate. And so we end at 6,600.
Okay.
It's still 10% growth for the index.
Okay.
But
after 30% rally, that's pretty impressive, right?
Yes. I think that that's maybe not as important as people to understand that what we're really saying is that after 2 years of 20% gains, the market probably gains again. Because most people think, well, if 2023 was so good and 2024 was so good, we can't have a good 2025.
Yeah. And the valuation is not cheap, right?
Well, you know, I think almost everyone we talk to talks about valuation. And so when people worry about valuation, it's probably less of a problem because everyone talks about it. In 2024, I think the principal difference in our view versus the street was that we believed we were only in the second year of a recovery.
Okay.
So the Fed and their tightening cycle essentially created a rolling recession. You know, there was clearly a recession in housing and durable goods and auto sales. In any past cycle, that is a deep recession. And now the Fed is easing. So 2024, in our view, was really the second year of an expansion.
Okay.
Many people instead thought 2023 was the market getting ahead of itself and 2024 would be payback.
Okay.
But instead, we're doing even better this year. I don't think most investors still have accepted that, because when I hear folks talk about the economy, they think we're late cycle. Well, it's been a very expensive late cycle for people, you know, I think it's a disconnection from what people can really observe. You know, if someone talked to their neighbors the last few years, people have been cautious. That's usually not late cycle behavior.
Okay.
Companies have been cautious. The ISM has been depressed for 3 years.
Yeah.
That's not late cycle.
Okay.
So as these indicators turn, actually, the economy could actually accelerate. Yeah, and that's our base case right now. And I think what people have to remember is the financial model is trying to take an actual event and express it in an economic term. And I think what most people forget when they do analysis is they look at economic data and they don't align it to the actual event.
Okay.
And so people are essentially disconnected from reality.
Sure.
And this is already on display even just recently, because people talk about inflation picking up in the recent reports, but that's mainly due to the hurricanes.
Okay.
So they're causing shortages to cause prices to spike. And now I hear people saying inflation is accelerating again, but it's just the hurricane effects.
Tom Lee challenges the conventional economic metrics, asserting that these metrics are often manipulated to paint a specific narrative, like labor statistics and inflation figures. The ongoing adoption of Bitcoin by governments, institutions, and media signifies a broader recognition of its value. However, Lee asserts this journey is just the beginning, comparing the initial years to the current widespread interest and investment, with a giant spotlight on Bitcoin ETFs. Lee highlights this being a significant development in the financial ecosystem, selectively measured to create desired effects rather than reflecting the true state of the economy. In this context, Bitcoin emerges as an alternative, detached from the manipulations of the conventional economic sphere. Lee also highlights that established corporations like Apple, Amazon, and Google will use their established relationships acquired over decades to swiftly acquire substantial amounts of Bitcoin through a spot ETF, bypassing the cumbersome processes involved in procuring the actual commodity. This disparity underscores the transformative power of cryptocurrencies in traditional financial institutions. Michael Saylor underscores the importance of embracing digital currencies as the economic landscape is changing rapidly, and urges investors to leverage Bitcoin's potential to secure a more prosperous financial future. What do you think about the latest interview with Tom Lee? And how do you think Bitcoin's trajectory in the coming months will impact the crypto market and the world of investing?